भात खाने का समय आ गया है, so I will be very brief. I would say that I consider myself extremely fortunate that I never had to go to a convocation to collect a degree. As I am a faculty here today, I also consider myself fortunate that I was not invited to the convocation. And I did not have to therefore make a choice whether or not to go to a convocation in which you have this bizarre combination of the army band, the BSF band, the national anthem and Saraswati Vandana, along with all the rituals which have been spelled out. So I have nothing against each of these individually, but this particular combination on this particular occasion is certainly something that one cannot easily identify with. As far as but I had to make one choice, which was with regard to this program. Unlike all the other fellow panelists sitting here, I am an employee of this university. And since this program has been deemed unauthorized, there was a question of whether or not, as an employee bound by so-called service conditions, would I participate in this or not. But it was not a difficult choice to make, because there was no question of one becoming party to a process of undermining the institution of JNUSU, which is what it would have been if I had used the excuse of being an employee to stay away from this event, because it had to be moved from the auditorium to this particular building. So this is a choice I had to make, but it was not a difficult choice to make. JNU has been described by many people as one of the great successful experiments of Indian higher education. It's not a view one would dispute. However, there are three important things about this experiment which in my view need to be emphasized. Firstly, that this great experiment was by no particular person's design. It was not something that was destined to be from the point of the creation of this university. Instead, it was crafted by generations of students and faculty members who have been here through their thoughts, their actions, their sacrifices, their luck and their toil. It is that effort that made this particular experiment what it was. This collective endeavor over several years which made JNU what it was. It was not therefore something that is something that's been gifted by anybody to the community of JNU. It is something that they made themselves. And in the process, gifted this institution to this particular nation and to its people. All these people who participated in that particular process, of course, never saw it as a burden, but a privilege. That they went through this particular process. It was not a burden or a load that they carried, it was a privilege. But it was also true that all the people who participated in this particular process did not necessarily subscribe to one worldview, subscribe to one particular way of thinking, and no differences of opinion between them. That was never the case. In fact, most people ended up bitter debates, disputes on the other side, and often people who are involved in crafting this process also ended up on two sides of a conflict which had to be settled one way or the other. So it was not a monolithic collective which made JNU what it was. There has always been this diversity within the university, and it's this diversity and the clash within democratic means through democratic forms which provided energy to the making of this particular experiment. But there was, through all these differences, one common essence which emerged. And this common essence was an acknowledgement and a recognition of the fact that the inequities that characterize the world in which we live, the inequities between the peoples of different nations, the inequities within our own societies, the inequities based on class, caste, gender, all these inequities and the entire body of knowledge from different disciplines all add up to telling us that one simple thing, that there is nothing natural about these inequities. They are historically created, and in history it is also possible to change it. And therefore, formal political democracy or formal political independence were only steps or means towards the larger democratization of the world and to the democratization of Indian society. They were not the ends. And as long as the democratization of the world and democratization of Indian society was not achieved, even formal political independence and formal political democracy and the rights he associated with that would be constantly under threat. Once this was the common essence, this was the common essence which gave a sense of purpose to what people did in this university. What did we study? What was the purpose of that? How did you understand? You tried to understand this world in the process of your study. Even when you fought for better facilities like hostels or things like that, it was about creating the conditions where this study and contribution to this process of democratization could be made most effective. So the sense of purpose for what we did in the university was derived from this. This was the reference point in relation to which we debated our differences. This was the common reference point with which, in relation to which the differences of opinion were debated. And this is the sense of conviction that made JNU what it was, where its academic and political processes, not separately but in combination, continuously worked to reinforce this ethos, and around which was created the ethos of the life of this university, a life in which a democratic culture so alien to the larger social context in which we exist got to be built in this particular space. So it was this common essence, however, which also always meant that JNU and this collective endeavor has always had to be in some kind of conflict with the powers that be. Because naturally the powers that it has had to come into confrontation with the existing power structures, both in the world, in the society at large, as well as within the university. That's natural. It's inherent in that particular, this common essence with which drove the community in the university and gave it a sense of purpose, that it would always come into conflict. And therefore, bitter struggle with tremendous sacrifice has always been part of the making of this experience, of this experiment. It has always been like that. In that sense, the current context is not new. What is new, however, in the current context is the intensity of that conflict. For the first time, perhaps, in the history of this university, you have a situation where you are not contending one vision of how this university is to be built with another, or other visions. It's not a contestation between different visions about where this university should go. It's a contest between all visions about how to build this university against a vision which is only about destroying the university. There is nothing constructive, there is no particular vision that you can identify that there is a particular direction, unless you call destruction a movement in a particular direction. It's that which gives this present context a uniqueness. Because this battles have been won and battles have been lost in the past. But battles have been lost only to be fought again. But the destruction of a university, the destruction of this university, a destruction which would allow that ethos and that essence to be obliterated, will also destroy the ability to rebuild and to fight. And therefore, this is a very decisive moment, in my view, in the history of this university. And for all of us who are here, it is a choice, like people have made in the past, that we confront. Are we going to accept this? Take it lying down? Because there are costs or price that we have to pay. Some of you have already literally paid a price for this. But there is no easy way. No one can promise that this is an easy battle, easy struggle, that where success will be achieved without many people paying a price. But it's a choice that has to be made whether we will let this process of destruction of the university continue or will we put up the fight that's necessary to beat this back. What lesson we can draw from the history of this university is that however bigger the challenges, if there is that collective will to fight, then the challenge is something that can be met and it can be defeated. Thank you.